Hello, folks, and welcome to our 16th episode. I am your host, Dr. Rifai. Imagine this: 5 doctors, men of science and healing, sitting down to sign the Declaration of Independence. Benjamin Rush, Josiah Bartlett, Lyman Hall, Matthew Thornton, and Oliver Wolcott. They weren't just physicians, they were activists, leaders, and risk takers. Their medical degrees weren't shields from the chaos of revolution. Instead, those degrees became tools for shaping liberty. It's fascinating, isn't it?
Absolutely. The fact that these guys managed to balance treating patients while participating in high-stakes political movements, it kind of boggles the mind. I mean, take Benjamin Rush, for example, running a medical practice in Philadelphia and still finding time to lead the charge for ratifying the Constitution. That's a workload none of us would want to manage, right?
Right. But it speaks to how they viewed medicine, doesn't it? Healing wasn't just about the body, but the soul of a nation too. Rush, particularly, believed morality and governance were interlinked, similar to how we view the biopsychosocial model today. Dr. Russo, you've been at the crossroads of medicine and ethics. Any parallels from your own experience?
Oh yeah, this reminds me of my residency. It was a case where our team had to decide between the letter of institutional policy and the spirit of care. It was a wake-up call. Medicine isn't just about, treating symptoms. Ethics plays a massive role in what we do. And honestly, I see that echoed in these founding physicians. They weren't just pragmatic, they were ethical trailblazers making tough choices, and some of those choices put their careers on the line. And
that's so critical. Each of those men, Rush, Bartlett, Hall, they sacrificed security, their practices. I see so many parallels with today's physicians standing up against bureaucracies or unjust legal systems. In my own case, legal adversity tested every part of me. But the Constitution, what Rush and his contemporaries defended, is a legacy that gives us strength, even when it feels ignored.
Ignored, honestly, it feels shredded sometimes, from Fourth Amendment protections being bypassed to the outright questioning of our medical judgment by non-experts. It's like their idea of freedom gets dismissed when it's inconvenient. Yet seeing what these physician patriots endured, the risks they took, it's empowering to know they paved the way for our fight today.
Exactly. Whether it's standing trial to clear your name, opposing harmful medical policies, or simply advocating for patient dignity, we stand in their shadows, don't we? The moral constitution they envisioned affects everything. And that connection between medicine and society is as vital now as it was then.
Yes, I can tell from my trial, our constitutional rights were in the dumpster, but boy, did we relegate these prosecutors to the dumpster of history when we were exonerated.
Continuing on that legacy, let's focus on a pivotal moment in our history, the Pennsylvania Ratification Convention of 1787. Imagine Benjamin Rush standing among his peers, not just as a physician, but as a moral philosopher. Confronted with a fractured society, he boldly declares the Constitution a divine remedy, a moral prescription to heal a nation. In doing so, he wasn't appealing solely to logic, but calling on people to reflect on their deepest moral, and spiritual cores.
Wow, he wasn't holding back, was he? To call the Constitution a divine intervention. It's almost poetic, but not everyone saw it that way. It's like he had to convince not just their minds, but their hearts, you know? Those kinds of speeches can flip the whole room, and honestly, how many people today would take that approach?
Exactly. He understood the power of emotion. Rush compared the Constitution's creation to splitting the Red Sea or receiving the Ten Commandments on Mount Sinai. That's powerful imagery. He called for unanimous unity, not a simple majority, because he believed healing required alignment, not just agreement. It reminds me of how we, as physicians, often address root causes instead of just surfacing symptoms.
It's true. You can apply that same thinking today. Again, as doctors, we're not just here to patch things up. When we see systemic issues, broken policies, fractured trust, we have a responsibility to lead. That's why what Rush did was so, what's the word? Trailblazing.
Trailblazing and brave. But it was more than just speeches. This was someone willing to risk his reputation, his very life, to fix a system he believed was morally corrupt. Do you think today's physicians are still seen as those ethical leaders?
I think some are. You got physicians speaking out against injustices, whether it's about public health crises or defending patient rights. But it's tricky, isn't it? The question of how much moral responsibility we should shoulder versus how much society expects from us.
It reminds me of a moment I'll never forget. Standing up in court, advocating for patient care, even as I was placed under immense legal scrutiny. It was one of those moments where you realize that being a doctor, it's not just what we do, it's who we are. Just like Rush said, healing isn't limited to the body. It's about healing society itself.
Exactly, but at what cost? You stood your ground, but not every physician has that kind of support. Still, these historical figures, these physician patriots, they give us this sense of responsibility, a fire to keep fighting.
Which is why their legacy is so vital. They remind us that the practice of medicine goes far beyond the clinic or hospital. It reaches into the fabric of societal values.
And I can tell you, Dr. Rifai's own physicians can lose everything for standing their grounds like myself or Dr. Bothra or Dr. Lewis. Our trial was a sham, but we prevailed with the truth.
Their legacy prompts us to ask an important question. Where do we, as modern physicians, stand today? Figures like Benjamin Rush were not just treating illnesses. They were safeguarding liberty and shaping democracy. But as we reflect on their contributions, it feels like the scales have shifted. Today, physicians are under increasing legal and governmental scrutiny, which raises a pressing question. What role are we prepared to play in navigating these modern challenges?
You're absolutely right. Look at what's happening. You've got doctors being dragged into courtrooms, audited for prescribing life-saving medications, and questioned by bureaucrats who don't have medical degrees. It's a hostile environment that would be almost unrecognizable to someone like Rush. But here's the thing, it's also fueling a wave of physician activism we haven't seen in decades.
Exactly. And that wave is inspiring. Let's consider the lawsuits being filed by physicians against regulatory overreach or the advocacy groups forming to fight for medical and civil liberties. These efforts echo the legacy of the founding physician patriots. They remind us that when the system fails us, we have to fight back, not just for ourselves, but for the principles we stand on.
It's all about principles, isn't it? And could take the recent cases where doctors have organized and won against unfounded claims. They're not just victories for those physicians, they're wins for patient autonomy and ethical care. It's not easy, though. You're up against systems designed to discredit you, and the pressure, it's immense.
Immense? Yes, but it's also worth it. I mean, look at your case, Dr. Russo, standing up to one of the largest legal opponents imaginable and winning. That wasn't just a personal victory, it was a message that the Constitution, what Rush and others fought so hard to create, still protects those who fight for justice.
And let's not pretend it's just courtroom drama. Modern activism is everywhere now, online and op-eds on social media. Physicians are taking on roles way beyond their clinics. We're seeing more doctors use their platforms to educate, to advocate, and sometimes even to organize protests. It's powerful. It's necessary.
It's necessary because it keeps the spirit of healthcare alive. A commitment not just to patient well-being, but to social responsibility. The actions of these doctors, whether they're suing for fair treatment or speaking out against injustice, reflect the courage of our predecessors. And it begs the question, what lessons are we carrying forward from their fight?
One key lesson: we can't afford silence. The original physician patriots, they spoke when it mattered, no matter the cost. And yeah, for us, that might look different. Standing up to unjust policies, posting a viral video, calling out misinformation, or I don't know, even using memes to educate, whatever it takes to cut through the noise and reach people.
And that's how legacies are preserved. By standing up, by fighting smart, and by remembering that our profession is about more than stethoscopes and prescriptions. It's about healing societies as much as individuals.
Carrying forward the lessons from those who came before us, sometimes activism takes unexpected forms. I started sharing posts and memes to highlight constitutional failings in our government, not anticipating the traction they would gain or the backlash. But when you're witnessing injustices, be it in biased medical audits or restrictions on life-saving treatments, there's a choice to be made. Sit down or speak up. I chose to speak up. I am a master mammologist now.
And speak up you did, boldly. I've seen some of your posts, and they strike a nerve because they're grounded in truth. But the irony is, when the government cited my own podcasts and social media appearances as part of their case against me, they also inadvertently highlighted the power of physician advocacy. It's almost like they unintentionally validated why we continue to fight for transparency and justice.
Right? It's like, oh no, doctors are using their voices. Better use that against them. But these platforms aren't about personal fame. They're about correcting narratives, educating the public, and holding systems accountable. It's what physicians of the past, like Rush, would have done, isn't it? Just, 21st century style.
Absolutely. What Dr. Rush did in 1787, demand unity, call for moral governance, he did it because he saw that silence wasn't an option. And like him, we're carrying that torch today. Legal scrutiny, social pushback, all of it is just noise compared to the impact we can have when we refuse to be quiet.
Exactly. And let's be honest, social media gives us a reach that Rush couldn't have dreamed of. If one meme or one tweet stops one person from being misled by bad policy, it's worth it. And when that happens thousands of times, well, that's a movement.
A movement that builds on the courage of those who came before us. Because whether it's a signature on parchment in 1776 or a post on social media today, the message is the same. Stand for truth, defend justice, and uphold the right to heal without interference.
And that, my friend, is the legacy we're continuing. We're not just treating patients, we're advocating for them, for their dignity, and for the freedom to care without fear. And that's the kind of fight worth fighting.
On that note, we'll leave our listeners with this. The white coat still stands as a symbol of trust. It's not just a profession, it's a calling. And today, more than ever, we need physicians who are willing to use their voices, to be activists for a better, freer society. So let's carry that torch together. And remember, folks, you are within the norms.
And to the government, as our friend Norm Clement pontificates, you messed with the wrong Muhamad Aly